Thank you, everybody, for watching the Volley Network. Just kidding. It's Eastern Volleyball Network. Sean, I hope you remember that for next time, you fucker.
It was a glitch. I rewatched it. It wasn't me messing up. The actual screen froze as I skipped through that phrase. So fuck you.
Thank you for watching Eastern Volleyball Network. My name is Graham Wren, Sean Yoder, here to bring you a recap video on the Big Money TVA Virginia Beach tournament that we had this past weekend. So without further ado, I'm just going to go ahead and I'll start from the top and I'll read out the results. First place, John Mesko and Casey Losick catching a red eye from Muskegon, Michigan to come compete out here. Second place, Andrew Holman, Adam Hartman out of Florida. Third place, Andrew McMurray, Kevin Knight. 3.5, Nick Drucker, Steve Keffer. Fifth place, Kevin Coyle, Jonathan Justice. Fifth place, Bryce Ernsberger, Aiden Keeter. Seventh place, Austin Banks, Trent Donahue. Seventh place, Cortland Sharonborg, Graham Wren. Ninth place teams, Devin Decker, James Donegan, Pyle, Luke Parks, Ryan Ludvig, Logan Smith, Aaron Campbell. 13th place, Regglesworth Yoder, Brad Peters, Riley McRandall, David Fortman, Kevin Zybist, Matt McLaren, Bobby Fowler. 17th place, Garrett Big, August Britton, Leandro Cortado, Carson Strawbridge, Nate Knickerbocker, Caleb Williams, Travis Abel, Justin C.A., Nick Spitziger, Sean Colita, Scott Behrens, Jaime, Gene Wade, Liam French, Cam Rodriguez, Jackson Herbert. 25th, Joel Slaughter, Elliot Levy, Eli Gallo, Najee Washington, Alexander Jared Gouliet, Pedram Hosseini, Sam Haskins, Gavin Caraway. Jesus, what a fucking mouthful.
So that last team didn't actually play. They got dropped from the entry list.
Really?
That's why it was 27 and not 28. They ended up, they signed up mistakenly for A, or they meant to sign up for A and ended up signing up for Open.
Nice. On a totally different event. You love to see it.
What?
On the AVP America signups, like just Open and then all the other divisions.
They didn't know what they were signing up but apparently they got
Gavin Caraway got carried away. Nice.
Wow. I love that you just said Jaime twice and then just moved on. Oh my gosh. That's so good.
Yeah. So all right. So I guess we'll start. We'll talk about, I didn't really get to see Mesko and Losick play much other than they beat Bryce and Aiden in their like round of 8 match. They then beat John Justice, Kevin Coyle in their winners round of 4 match. They then went through Andrew and Kevin and then beat Andrew and Adam in the final. So, certainly beat and had to go through just about everybody to get there. Hats off to them. I believe they get a wild card for the AVP Tour stop in Virginia Beach in August.
Yep, that's a big win. That's good.
Yeah, not as big a win as I think they had at the Players' Party the night before, though.
Oh, I heard about that. Jeez.
Yeah. John Mesko rolled up, decided that we were doing it big. Really went for it. I think spent like $1,000 at Calypso, which if you've been to Calypso, it's kind of hard to do.
Yeah, you gotta spend a lot of money.
Like, you gotta buy a lot of alcohol.
Like that is a crazy amount to just be like, yeah, we're gonna casually spend $1,000 on alcohol.
Yeah.
People shots that he didn't even know. Anybody that came to the bar apparently was like, you get a shot. I was like, okay, cool.
Nice.
Hey, I earned it.
Yeah.
So hats off. That's fantastic. You got it like that. That's
awesome. I was gonna say, I think most people win a big tournament and then managed to blow most of their winnings at the bar. He did it the other way. He blew his winnings at the bar in advance of winning the tournament, which is
yeah.
pretty spectacular.
He's like, we got this. So I'm just
Yeah.
going to drop cat.
Yeah. The number one overall seed, Holman and Hartman, looked really strong, all day long. We played them, and they were, frankly, like in the wind in a lot of ways, kind of ball control monsters, running, doing a really good job running kind of shooty sets, and both of them, really move the ball around very well, provide a good amount of service pressure and kind of mixed service pressure, with one of them, hitting jump serves in the wind, the other one hit really hard flat like jump floats. So it's a nice little dynamic there that kind of makes them challenging to deal with.
They did a really good job. I watched some of that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I watched some of that match, and I watched a little bit of them. They're very, very good. The one thing that really just stands out is they just don't miss. They don't make casual errors.
Yeah.
They do a really good job at forcing a lot of teams to make the decisions that they don't really feel are going to be the best outcome. I think that's an interesting thing to see, is like, oh, I'm going to make sure that I deter you from taking a high percentage swing. I want to make you make a low percentage swing, and I want to consistently get you to make that kind of a mental error. And that's something that was really apparent with them. They would just force teams into the hard stuff. It was wild.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of funny because, I mean, they're both, they're both pretty skilled players all around. But they're kind of one of those teams where I think the whole is greater than the sum of the parts individually, if that makes sense. Yeah. I think you could pair either of them with a player who would be of like equal standing, equally as good, and that team definitely falls short of those two. Yeah, they really know each other's games in and out, and really complement each other's skill sets really well.
Sure.
Yeah, so that was pretty cool to see. Andrew and Kevin taking a third. They beat Drucker and Keffer in 3 in the round of 8, I believe, under what I believe were pretty controversial circumstances.
There was a couple of instances, yeah, where it was not favorable for
Keffer and Drucker.
Keffer and Drucker, yeah. There was a couple of instances where it was like a hotly contested point. I just can't remember the specifics of them.
I think there was a question of whether, I think Steve was in the net on a play in set 3. I think a ball rolled on at like a key moment during a point in set 3 that they had to replay that was like probably going the other way. And then I know, so like Steve called his own net at like 8-6, I think. And then to win 15-13 at 14-13, Steve and Nick hit a ball. I was playing at the same time, so I didn't actually see it, but per Kevin's words, it was like the smallest bit past the buckle and on the bungee, versus, thinking that it caught the buckle and not the bungee. So, very much kind of a bit of an ambiguous play that they were both kind of arguing over. And then, kind of, I think a bit of the sentiment there also was like, hey, we honor called our net at 8-6. Like, you should honor call this ball in because we think it was in, versus like taking the, it was this far out line. Right. Who knows? Maybe it was this far out. Maybe it wasn't. I have no idea. Like that, Kevin and Andrew may not have done anything wrong. That's just kind of how it, kind of how things fell at the end. It was kind of funny because like Kevin and Andrew walked away at the end and they're like, wow, that was like really shitty way to win. It was funny. But like it was funny. It was apparent enough that like they acknowledged it and knew it in the moment, like right after it happened. But by beating Nick and Steve, they dropped Nick and Steve down to a 3rd.5 place finish rather than a 3rd place finish, in my book.
The crazy part is they both made that semi over teams that they probably wouldn't have. You wouldn't have said what they would have beaten. But again, I think we talked about.
Well, at least for Keffer and Drucker. I mean, I think.
You guys talked about it on the video. The other video, you and Ryan, that it was all going to come down to like the way that Steve played. Is Steve still the Steve that he was several years ago, or the last time we've seen him? Yeah, he is. He's still just filthy. And the semifinal appearance proved that. Like Nick's out there doing Nick things, and Steve looks dangerous.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, for sure. Fifth place, Bryce and Aiden, and then kind of a shock, Kevin Coyle, John Justice. I didn't really get to see John and Kevin a ton. From what it looked like, teams were generally going at Justice and kind of forcing a little bit of a misconnection at times between Kevin setting John, and then kind of that getting magnified in the win ended up being enough for them to not make the semi.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. Bryce and Aiden, I didn't really get to see them much, but I did see Aiden Keeter Kong block the shit out of Austin Banks, courtesy of Instagram.
Yeah, that was a very, very interesting ball. But like, this is such a disrespectful block. That's just huge. He's just like, yeah, this is you're in highlight reel. This is wild.
Yeah.
I didn't get to see Banks and Donahue a whole lot. I didn't get to see them play very much, so I wasn't sure exactly how well they were playing.
Right.
But I assume that they just didn't handle Bryce and Aiden in a very particularly effective way, so which is kind of challenging to do.
Yeah.
So. Yeah, I didn't. Did you see that match? I didn't get to see that match at all.
No, I didn't. I was playing Nick and Steve at the time.
I gotcha. That's right. That's the same round. Yeah.
Yeah. So then we got a seventh. Played Keffer and Nick really, really tight and lost to take our seventh. Kind of got blown out a bit by Andrew and Adam. I'll go a little more in depth about my complete day later. Then Austin and Trent, I believe. Do you know who they beat to get to the seventh place game?
Who?
Yeah.
Who?
Nice. Austin and Trent. Who did they beat?
Who did they beat? McLaren and Fowler.
And then somebody else.
So then they played Bryce and Aiden.
No, there's someone in between because Bobby and Matt got a 13th.
They got a 9th.
No, they got a 7th.
Bobby and Matt got a 7th?
No, Austin and Trent got a 7th. Bobby and Matt got a 13th. So they either beat Logan and Aaron. I don't think it was Luke and Ryan because Luke and Ryan played Devin and no.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Luke and yes, sorry, that's my fault. I got that finish wrong.
Who'd they beat?
Aaron and
Logan. Aaron and Logan, maybe? Okay.
Yeah. Sorry, I just got that.
No, that's fine.
Backwards.
Yeah, so Devin and James, kind of by seeding, having a disappointing 9th place finish, but at the same time, I think they had a pretty challenging road because they ran into Drucker and Steve Keffer in the winners round of 16, I believe. So, like in the 5 versus 21 matchup or something crazy.
They ran into Drucker and Keffer in the first round of the second round of winners.
Yeah, so round of 16. So then
they got bounced the same time that we did.
Yeah, so then they beat somebody for 17th, and then they played. I believe they played.
They played Gene Wade and Liam.
Right, for 7 and gave them a 17th, and then they had to go through you and Regglesworth, which that's a pretty brutal 13th place game. Before taking their 9th, losing to Bryce and Aiden. Yeah. Logan and Aaron kind of having a finish that raises a lot of eyebrows. I looked over and they were playing some pretty good ball. They were close. they lost their first round to Fortman and Zybist, I believe, in 15-13. So real tight, but then, they came back in the losers and beat Travis Abel and Justin CA, somewhat convincingly. Like it was like 21-16 in the first set, and then it was on pace to be 21-17, and they gave 3 in a row away and went up to extras. But for 99% of the match, they were consistently a fair bit better, I would say, than Justin and Travis. And that, I think anyone who watched that match would say the same thing.
Did they just beat them with service pressure? How did they?
Yeah, service pressure, and frankly, Aaron picking up some lazy shots, and Logan doing a really good job of putting Aaron in a position to score in transition.
Really putting him well in transition, making that's impressive for him to be handling business at that high of a level. That ninth is definitely on the table for them. Because Matt and Bobby are not necessarily a pushover,
right?
It would be for a better team, because I think they just have more ball touch right now. They're playing more volleyball than Matt has, and then Bobby's probably just getting back into his beach legs. So that's an interesting one. I think I had that one going the other way. I think I had it going with Aaron and Fowler.
Yeah.
But that's it. That's a big win.
I think it's a combination of everything. So Aaron, for the Virginia Beach people, Aaron's well known for wanting to run a pretty fast ball on the beach from wherever, and kind of having trouble dealing with situations where he can't hit that ball. And to his credit, he's gotten more comfortable, and he's gotten a bit more comfortable in some of those situations. And, Logan was doing a good job of kind of blurring the line, if that makes sense, of what a tempo situation versus what a not tempo situation was, and, giving Aaron chances to put balls away. And then on the other end of it, being solid inside out.
Which he is, if he has that ball where he needs it to be.
Right.
He's got a little whip on him. He doesn't just hit the ball with no pace. He actually can hit the ball with some pace.
Yeah.
Which it can overwhelm teams if you're not really ready for it. If you're not really ready to deal with what he has.
For sure. And I think Logan is pretty unassuming, but very has been sneaky solid, I think, for a while. Yeah. And I think also a little bit the beneficiaries then of also playing Matt McLaren, Bobby Fowler versus there are kind of two 13th place teams in my mind that jump out to me as that's kind of brutal. And then having to play Team Sean or the Fortman and Zybus, the guys who traveled from Pittsburgh or Ohio in that round, is pretty brutal. For anyone who saw it, Luke Parks and Ryan Ludwig played Fortman and Zybist on center court, went 3.
Crazy.
Yeah, it was I believe it was 17-15 in the third.
Yeah. I was talking to Ryan a little bit about it, and he said they balled out. That was such a close game. And it could have went any different direction in that round, which is not a 13th place that you want to have to take. But
right,
the fact that the competition for that 9th place spot is getting more and more challenging is that just shows you that the level of players is overall increasing, because this wasn't a huge tournament, but it started to get deeper than you expected really quickly.
Yeah, for sure. I guess the other notable thing to me was Cam Rodriguez and Jackson Herbert taking a 17th. And for perspective, Luke and Ryan really earning that 9th because they had to go through Cam and Jackson in their 17th place game.
That's a path.
Yeah, for those who don't know, Jackson's U16, U17, a 6'4" lefty. He and Cam were running a pretty shooty offense all day, and he's got a lot of angles, and he goes through stretches where he's untouchable, frankly, where he's just kind of hitting hitting fast angles that you would have had to commit to way earlier than that. I mean, that was especially, I think, how Cortland and I felt at times. Neither one of us is a huge blocker or a super dynamic blocker. So like at times when he was really in system, it was like, okay, well, yeah, if you keep hitting that, we're not going to get that. We gotta recycle and wait for the next play.
Yeah.
Um, but then also, at times, from being U16, U17, would go through stretches where he's given some points away. So I think teams generally stayed on Jackson, and kind of waited for him to give points away rather than Cam's generally not going to give you points. Like you might be able to. What was that?
He plays very consistent.
Yeah, for sure. Like
smooth.
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, I mean that was kind of the notable 17th place. Yeah, so why don't you talk about kind of your path for the day, like run through your matches.
So our first round match was against Peters and McRandall
Yeah.
at 3. It was that one we just knew they were going to come out and they were going to hoop. Like both of them are athletic, they're young, they can move, and you know that nothing is going to touch the ground. Like that was one of the things that Sean said. He's just like, just remember, man, these kids got more energy than the rest of us right now. These kids, they're running around and they'll just never quit on anything because that's just what their brain is telling them to do. And that's exactly what both of them did. I mean, nothing hit the sand easily. Like that was the crazy part. Like they gave us points because I guess their inexperience would fall short a little bit. They would make hitting errors into the net back to back or miss shots or whatnot. And I guess Sean and I just stayed more consistent. But everything, shots, swings, there was touches on everything. There was just unexpected, like you think it's down, and then there's a 17-year-old just sprinting across the sand, diving to picking it up. You're like, shit, all right, I guess I gotta hit a better one.
Yeah.
But so that was fun. They really kind of kept up with us and gave us a really good run in that second set, and eventually taking the last 2 points.
It is kind of cool to see that kind of growth from Riley. I think, kind of the last year or two, I think everyone's kind of known that like that's a little bit of Brad's game, and like you can count on Brad to get 1 to 2 victories a tournament at the big ones, and then at the small ones, like maybe he might do something crazy.
Yeah, and they finished the same place we did. They finished the 13th, yeah. So it's not like that was that one could have went either way.
Yeah.
Them beating us the second set and us kind of handling it really, really well. The third set, we got a couple of big aces, we got a couple of blocks, and the third set just kind of like fell in our favor a lot more. They made a lot more mistakes that set, so that one was I don't know if they just couldn't put things together or what, but that third set was not very challenging. But I mean, that's kind of how we felt in some of our other matches as well. When we kept making back-to-back errors. I think in the next round when we played Kevin and Andrew, we were close all the way up until like, I think they got a 9-5 switch on us at one point, and I think I hit like the next 4 balls out of bounds. I was like, this is insane. Like,
yeah,
huge streak by me to just make errors and errors and errors, and we were digging pretty much everything that they were doing. It was just the first set they ran away with it. They were just taking advantage of every opportunity that we were trying to take and just not converting. We had a real big conversion problem in the first set, and then just making a bunch of errors, which was the crazy part because the round before we weren't making any errors. We were making all of our serves. We were putting pressure. It was just hitting the shots that we know work, and then after that, it just kind of fell apart. But good teams do that to you. So yeah. There's good teams that understand how to take advantage of what you're trying to do, and then they know how to just kind of turn things up. So it was a very competitive match, one that I would have liked to have played better in, but that's the circumstances. The matches that you really need to play good in, if you haven't played matches like that, then yeah, you're not going to play all that well. So even though we see pretty competitive people here every week, it's different to see different angles and different things. But
yeah.
So that dropped us down to play Knickerbocker and Williams in the 17th place match. And Them being the 14 seed, I honestly was expecting a little more of a match, and it was not a match. I don't know if what was going on with them, but they did not put pressure on us in any way, shape, or form. I think they were both like sending float serves, and that were just easy to pass, and Sean and I just chopped them to pieces. That one was a weird one, and
Yeah.
to be honest with you, I was like, I don't know. I don't know what the issue was with them, but we just could not miss. We were hitting everything. It was, yeah, it was.
Well, a relatively small block and no surface pressure is a good recipe for losing.
Especially from a team that's pretty experienced like we are. When like
Yeah, I can
I
see your
wasn't.
gray is showing.
Yeah, it definitely is. But like they weren't doing anything that was like challenging our expertise in that regard. So that was the interesting thing. But either way, I think that they're athletic and they can hoop. I just think that was a very off game for them. Um, the next round, we played Decker and Donegan for the 13th place, and that one was super fun. A lot of trash talk, but like lighthearted trash talk, which was great because everybody else was getting in on it. It was fantastic.
Yeah.
Including both James and Devin's girlfriends on the side, which is just hilarious. They're sitting by the pole just cheering the whole time, and it was amazing. It was fun to have that kind of like camaraderie and just kind of like, all right, we're gonna play tough, but we're gonna like, you know, we're gonna have a good time with this. So it was a lot of fun. I had a great time, but I also missed a couple of opportunities to score points that I needed to score when the game was tight. Like both sets started off like very, very close. I think the first set they ended up having like a 15-13 switch, and then we just couldn't score. In the second set, I think it was a 14-14 switch, and then we just couldn't score after that. It was crazy.
Gotcha.
But it's fun.
Yeah.
I got a really good block on Devin that I don't think he was expecting me to get. And so I like the bewilderment on his face was pretty funny. I just like lined him up and like gave a really good push into his line as he tried to turn it back. And yeah, it was funny. Like I got him really good on it, and he was just like, "What?"
Yeah.
Like, yeah. It was pretty fun. And then I got a real good bounce on him, which was hilarious because I was fully expecting to get blocked, and I just got a really good swing on it and put it into the bleachers essentially. That one was really, really fun. The best part about all of that was being able to go up, see that ball being tight and stay aggressive, but like stay aggressive through everything. Like my step close, feel like I'm going to push and jump, and then just open up and actually like, okay, I'm hitting this ball. I don't care if it dislocates my shoulder. I'm going up and I'm hitting this because I'm probably going to get blocked spectacularly. It's crazy because I that's like what I was thinking, but I was like, send it. Like, I don't care. Like, I'm sending this to the moon. And so it was fun to not get blocked in that moment and watch that ball just get thumped into the sand. I was like, okay, that was fun. Those are fun.
Yeah.
Those are what really make this game fun, especially when it's like against good competition, because Devin and James are good. But yeah, definitely playing against them and having a good time. Like it's just what makes this game continue to be fun. So yeah, I like those a lot more than I like the ones that are like high stress and like mean. Like those ones they're not fun for me.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'll run through kind of how my day went. We started with, so Steve and Nick were the big landmine team that everyone was aware of. And then frankly, kind of the baby landmine team was Cam Rodriguez and Jackson Herbert. Because Cam having not played as much in the past couple of years and kind of been focusing on coaching, but he's still a great player and still the player he was, back when he was traveling up and down and playing with either Dalton or Alex Bernardos, shout out to Boise State, or Cortland from time to time, actually. And then and then he was playing with, kind of a young gun who also didn't really have points. So they were seated 25th, I believe, and we were the 8th, and just kind of lined up perfectly. So we came out set 1 against them and kind of not counted on, but we're like, let's go ahead and force the issue with the young guy and, see if he holds up and stops making errors. And it was funny because we hit like 6-6, and 6-6 was like, he's done like 6 things that we weren't really that close to touching. Or maybe no, at 5-5 we side out, go up 6-5, and we're like, he's done 5 things that we're like, we haven't really been that close to touching, and then all of a sudden we got like 3 or 4 in a row. And we talked about it afterwards, and we both had the thought right then of being like, should we switch? And then but then like neither of us said anything, and then it was like, okay, I'm glad we didn't say anything. So we got the first one relatively comfortably. And then the second set, he came out real strong and sustained a very strong effort through the entire thing. And frankly, they scored a couple off me. I think a couple bounces went their way as well, and they ended up winning like 21-18 maybe.
Nice.
Yeah. Set three was like started out pretty tight, but then it was kind of like we pulled ahead somewhere in like the 9-6 range maybe, or like we got to like 8-6, and then all of a sudden we were able to tack a few on and kind of saw the light leave their eyes a little bit. Credit to Cortland for bombing some jump serves and really putting pressure on them there. We got a few key blocks and key digs where we needed to down the stretch, and we're able to take them out. We then ran into August Britton, Garrett Big, who, we were kind of, they're 2 youngsters out of Wilmington who had kind of been on the rise and had kind of split, like last year they would play just about everything together, and then they've been kind of splitting up to play with different people. And both of them had been finding some, pretty real success. So we were kind of, we were kind of expecting, we were expecting them to play some real good ball. And we actually ended up just kind of rolling over them a little bit, like 21-12, 21-14.
Tough loss.
Yeah. Yeah. It's funny how that goes sometimes, where like when I especially remember like matches like this when I was younger, when it was like you kind of get into your head and you can't figure out it. At times it seems like nothing will work, and or it's like you hit a ball and it got dug, and your mindset is like, okay, well, I just need to fucking hit it harder, right? And then it's like, okay, we dug that. Now what? Oh my god! And then next thing you know, you're thinking about like, oh crap, well, how do I score? And then the pass doesn't, go where it needs to be. So now you're out of system, and you just send another free ball. So kind of a little bit of that going on, and a little bit of they played with a lot of energy, and they were, neither of them really brought a ton of service pressure, and they're not huge at the net. So we were able to just high line them to death.
That's what good teams do, man. You gotta give yourself some credit there for that. That's you guys taking advantage of that situation really, really well. I mean, from what I saw, you guys were playing really well, communicating well, and actually like executing that kind of communication. I mean, that's huge. You parlay that into, some mistakes by an opponent or some really, really good transition plays by you, and you guys are beating, the 1 seed.
Yeah. Well, it's funny because we had a big break then, and then after that match and before the next one, my back tightened up significantly. In kind of the credit to Andrew and Adam, for executing strongly and not giving away anything and just being really challenging to score points on, and frankly doing a good job of taking away a lot of easy options for me. And then kind of combined with like, I was like, for anyone who's ever like tried to play with a tight back or stuff like that, you kind of have to refigure out how to move and how to approach and all that. And I definitely had not figured that out, and they torched me. Like I think we were fortunate to get like 21-15, 14 or 13. Like it very easily could have been like 21-9.
Damn.
Yeah.
That's not good.
No, because I mean they're both really solid defenders. They both do a very good job of digging hard driven balls unless you really really get on top of it and really bring some pace. And like with where I was physically, I couldn't get up and bring pace. And then we were also kind of there was a significant uptick in wind between our last match and this match. And like we were kind of figuring our timing out there too. So it just kind of felt like everything was back out of sync. And they just kind of pushed us.
This last night too, where you kind of got into that rut of hitting that cut shot and then thinking that it was open again, and then hitting it again and not being open at all.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Especially because like when it's hard to stay disciplined and like hit. It's hard to stay disciplined and think about hitting your line shot when you know that you're coming in really short, right? Because you start to think about it and you're like, oh, like he's going to be ready for it. I have to hit it that much higher. Like let me go around the block and try to beat it that way. So fell into that trap a little bit.
Yeah, I've been down there. I think my read is good. Like whenever I go up, like I think it's still true, or I think it's still like a solid assessment of what I need to actually be able to do. And then, yeah, if I'm not in the most optimal position, like it's a bad decision. It's rough because you have to like take a chance on, okay, yeah, they just sitting on this dive play, or do I have to be extra crisp if I do something like could be like low percentage? And so, it's a rough game to play, but the good players do it well. The good players succeed at it. So that's, I guess, the upside to continually getting better, because you're never gonna, beat anybody good if you don't keep getting better.
Yeah. So it's definitely for me at least, it's definitely I gotta make some adjustments as far as like tournament prep goes and making sure that I'm able to, not have to deal with an issue like this again. So it's definitely something, that I'm going to make some adjustments on. Next, in our 9th place match, we played Pile. And I'm going to use this term semi-endearingly. They Cam Beansed us, which was like when you talk, when you talk about how much you're cramping and you give all the signs that you're cramping, and then all of a sudden you just come out and you're ready to roll. Pile absolutely did this to us, and you're just kind of like, okay, what's going on? What happened? And like, so we definitely kind of came out a little asleep against them through like the first half of the first set, and then they managed to take the first set. And like they were going at Cortland a good bit and scoring off of Cortland. And it's kind of interesting because I also think, like, looking back on it, we were mostly in a rhythm. I mean, Cortland was struggling a little bit with dealing with, funnily enough, we were having a harder siding out from the good side than the bad side. Like if the ball drifted off the net, we were getting caught up high. And like, to Pat and Kyle's credit, they were doing a lot of just kind of hanging middle, and like I think they were going a lot of ball, frankly. I think they probably said, Kyle was like, look, Cortland can probably swing around just about everything that we're doing. So Pat, or that I'm doing defensively for the most part. So like, Pat, go ball and I'll pick up shots. Yeah. And like they got a few off of me in the first set too. And against me, I think they played a little more straight up, and Kyle dug some or maybe this was the beginning of the second. I don't exactly remember. I mean, Kyle dug some hard driven balls, but didn't really touch many or any like overline balls that I had. And kind of like on top of that, I think Cortland was feeling a little bit of pressure too, because like with my back, I wasn't really providing much service pressure or defensive pressure for a while, I don't think. Again, just kind of trying to re-engage that. But then we were down like 16-13 in the second set, and we were able to kind of claw our way back to a victory, and then we won in 3, 15-13.
Yeah, they play crazy well together. It's just insane.
Yeah.
Like, they play crazy well like way better than you expect them to when you play with, if you play with one or the other, because it's not the same chemistry. Like I've played with both of them in different situations, and it's been like each time it's always something different with both of them. But then you play, like if you play them and they're on their game, like they're a challenging team to beat. Like they're not just a pushover team. Like it's kind of crazy. That's a ridiculously challenging like ninth place, especially for Portland as well, knowing their games so well.
Right.
Like that's not a match that you would be particularly excited about having, because you're like, well, dang it, you know they're going to come out and they're going to play well, like they're going to actually execute. Like this is a match that really matters. So they're really going to make it challenging. And I think every ninth place match for the most part was like that. Like a lot of those ninth place matches were challenging. Like, you know, it's none of those teams that made it to that round are pushovers, you know, for any stretch. So
yeah, well,
congratulations.
Yeah, well, and it's also kind of the for guys like me in Cortland who would, you know, I think both of us would really like to be able to consider ourselves like top guys in the region, and I don't think neither of us have earned that at this point. Like I think we're a little bit below that, you know, because neither of us have like the big tournament finishes to back up that statement, right? But like they're kind of the team that it's like you look at the Bryce Ernsbergers, the Brett Rosenmeyers, the Kevin Knights, the Andrew McMurrays, the Nick Druckers, you know, the Angels, the teams like that. They beat the fuck out of Pyle. No disrespect to Pyle, but they beat the fuck out of Pyle. So then, like for guys like Cortland and I, like a lot of times we go into this match and we're like, hey, we want to belong. We feel like we're close to and or, you know, pushing the envelope of do we belong in that conversation up there. It's time to beat the fuck out of these guys. And then like when all of a sudden, rather than beating the fuck out of them, it's, you know, 11-10, all of a sudden, like, you know, the little the kind of the internal doubt starts to set in a little bit, you know, the pressure starts to mount. And frankly, we I think Cortland was kind of a little bit of that kind of like internal mental pressure. I think Cortland was feeling a little bit. And it's funny too, because I think a lot of people would look at like being close to having a bad loss as like, oh, well, I'm never playing with that person again. And for me, it's the exact opposite. Because like I think everyone goes through those moments, right? Where maybe things aren't going their way. There's a little hitch in their game. And like being able to win ugly is, you know, a real skill to have, and like having the grit to, you know, pull that out in spite of, you know, maybe feeling a little off kilter is, you know, that's something that's not easy to do. And we were able to do it.
Yeah. And it's something that you have to have regardless of, you know, what place you're finishing, right? If you're finishing in a third, or even if you're winning a tournament, oftentimes you're going to have to rely on that ability to grind those matches out, which sucks. But inevitably, they are going to happen the better you get. That's just kind of that hierarchy of like, okay, if I keep getting better, the teams also keep getting better. This isn't just like something that just ends with me being on top. There's no way that's the case, which is why I love the sport. But yeah, I think that if you guys get to that point where you beat that team badly, like the way that, you know, the way that we got beat in our second round, or the way that we got beat against James and Devin, you know, like that's a huge conversation piece. And then, you know, like that next round becomes way more competitive, because it's not just like, oh, okay, well, we just went through a hard team. Now we got to face an even harder team,
right?
Team scrap more, you know, like that's when you start to have that conversation of like, okay, you guys are in that conversation when you have a couple of thirds against teams like Nick and Steve, and against teams like, you know, and like, yeah, that's where it really starts to have that conversation. And in no sense of the word is like anybody expecting you guys to pull like a Big Mike and David Vandermeer. Like that's not like, that's a great expectation to have. But if you're a 16 seed going against Phil and Nick, no one's really expecting that match to go the way that it did. But I guess those are the moments where it's like, oh, no, I'm gonna take a step in the right direction by making sure that I'm, you know, that I'm here and that I'm present enough to be able to beat, that I'm one of the best teams in the world.
Right. Or even like I like to view it as being present enough to frankly compete with a team that's a little bit frankly above where you are. And like to Pyle's credit, they did that this time, I would think. They've been ready to do it the past couple times. Like they gave Luke and I a tough match as well. Um, and
Yeah,
then
to a lot of people, it's wild.
yeah, but then like they also lose to Leandro and Carson a lot.
Yeah,
Um, yeah,
like yeah, it's crazy. I've trained with both of them quite a bit, and Kyle's such an enigma when it comes to like what kind of Kyle you're gonna get. And when he's on, it's damn near untouchable, especially if he's got his range where he's swinging deep and he's like,
and he's also chopping up, short both directions and doing all those things. And then kind of flipping roles there. We're now playing Nick and Steve, and first set they came out and they kind of punched us in the mouth a little bit. But then second set we hung with them and then got back to the good side at the right time in set two, and went on a serving run and won 21-19. Yeah, it's kind of funny you talking about a little bit of kind of what you loved about that your Devin and James matchup we kind of had with Steve and Nick too. A little bit of playful back and forth with both Steve and Nick, and then you've also got Sydney chirping on the sidelines, which just adds to it, of course. Shout out to Sydney. Then third set was real tight. We ended up losing 15-13. Kind of, I in the moment, I really thought we were going to get it because we went back to the good side, 13. I mean, down 13-12, but I thought we were at least going to, at a minimum, switch back to the bad side 15-15, like on the good side of the point, just kind of based on the success I've been having from the service line. And then at 14-13, passed the ball a little further off the net. Set drifted low and off the net and just put it right in the middle of the net.
So. I've done that. Yeah, I wish that we would have had a similar set to you guys with James and Devin, because that would have definitely been like, all right, like we had moments of brilliance where we can actually like execute, and yeah, like. Those are fun matches to play. Like,
yeah.
I mean, if you guys had gotten that third set against Nick and Steve, that would have been like, it would have been arguably the biggest upset of the tournament, because I don't feel like there were really any upsets from our picks.
Right.
At any point. I had Steve and Nick winning against Kevin and Andrew, but I mean, that one was also close. I think it went 3, and it was very, very heated all throughout. But I don't really think there were any like actual like upsets. Maybe
right.
Aaron.
A lot of like coin flips or 60-40 matches going one way or the other for the most part.
Yeah. I like the Devin and James versus Aiden and Bryce match too was wild, because it was very, very close, and there was a lot of controversial calls, or there were a lot of controversial moments that could have gone either way that didn't. The way that third set was going, I thought for sure Devin and James had it up until like, I think it was like the 8-8 or the 8-9, and Bryce and Aiden just rolled. I mean, it still was close, but after that, it didn't look like they were gonna steal it.
Yeah, well, it's kind of the feeling of like when you're neck and neck, and then you give away 1-2, and like that differentiation feels there, and it's like you can either kind of pause and regroup, or kind of the light's going to leave your eyes, and it's gonna go from 10-8 to 15-9 real fast.
Yeah, I feel like they would have definitely done well if they had won that match, because I think they roll over Trent and Austin. Maybe not roll, but I think they win that match as well. And then they have that rematch against Kevin and Andrew. We know that was Kevin and Mark. Devin and James beat Kevin and Mark in the final. Was that the semi? The indoor big money. That's right. I think that was a semi, because Devin and
So,
James.
yeah, something like that. Yeah, that was a while ago. Yeah.
But I think that, I mean, when they play well, they play well. They have that, that moment where they can actually, do well. And I thought they were going to have that match against Bryce and Aiden. Just, I mean, it was, maybe I'm biased because I refed it, but nothing it like has.
That's what we love. That's what we love to hear from our unbiased ref.
Like, that's the thing. Well, not biased in the sense of like I wanted one to win more than the other. I was watching the match as the ref as well. Like the way the match was actually progressing from my perspective.
For sure. Like you can feel the momentum.
Yeah, it definitely felt like Devin and James had that match. And there was a couple of big moments that Bryce and Aiden just executed on. It was that second set especially, they had some big moments that they executed really, really well. And Aiden was playing very, very well. Like really siding out well in transition. And so that's just hard to stop when he's beating the ball outside your block line and outside your defender. Like this, just you're not gonna.
Yeah.
You have to dig those, otherwise you're not gonna really succeed, or you just side out when you should, right straight out of service.
Yeah.
But what haven't we covered?
I think that's just about everything we talked about. I mean, we talked about a lot of how the finals went, and a lot of those top matches. Talked about a little bit of the weeds of kind of the 5th, 7th, 9th range.
Did you watch any of the final or no?
No, I didn't get to. I wasn't able to go.
I didn't watch it either. But it was surprising to see. Honestly, it was surprising to see John and Casey win, knowing that they just played 4 matches on Friday to lose in 3 in Muskegon.
Right.
Like getting a red eye that day, like get on a red eye that night to Virginia Beach, like that's taxing. Like that's not like that has to take it out of you. But I mean, that's huge gas tank. Like that's crazy that like you've got the kind of gas to be able to survive a whole day of playing, play another whole day, and then play 2 matches on Sunday.
Fueled by whiskey, 3 matches.
It's wild.
3 matches, I believe, right?
No, they made it to the semi.
On the winner side?
The winner side. So Sunday for them was 2 matches, I believe.
Okay.
That is just ridiculous that you got that kind of energy to like you got the like you that's shape. That's fantastic conditioning. Like I would be toast if I tried to play 3 days in a row like that and played. There's no way I'd be functional on Sunday.
Yeah. Well, I think a lot of it comes down to having when you're able to beat a lot of teams at like 80 to 85%.
Right. But that's the crazy part. Like they didn't have an easy route in Muskegon.
Right. No, but I mean, I think a lot of the kind of the early rounds here, they were able to kind of cruise through some teams.
For sure. Yeah. I think they were able to just kind of roll because their first round matches were.
Because I think I think they rolled through Austin and Trent pretty easily too.
Yeah, their first match was against Jaime and his partner, which I mean, I didn't see it, but it looked relatively competitive. But I didn't ask Jaime what the scores were. But I don't think it was like you said. I think they were just going at 80-85% for those next 2. Just again, I assume they handled Trent and Austin pretty easily, the same way that I handled in that same round. So. I didn't get to see the Bryce and Aiden versus Coil and Justice match. Do I have that one right?
Yeah, I think. No, that yeah, they would have played it the 2-7 in the winners round debate. I didn't really get to see what happened there. But I know Kevin and Andrew beat Bryce and Aiden in the 5th place game on Sunday.
Yes, in the morning after somebody sleeping in.
Who slept in?
Whatever it was. Bryce was apparently about an hour late.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, apparently. I don't know if that's true, but I remember a couple of people not being particularly excited about the fact that he rolled up and it was well beyond game time.
Got it.
So again, hearsay, but we were about to like start our pool already for co-ed, and I was walking to the car and he rolled up. The match should have started. I think this was almost 10 o'clock. Maybe it was a little after 10. I can't remember. But.
Gotcha. All right. Well, to all our viewers, if you stuck with us this long, thank you for thank you for watching. Please smash that like button and subscribe, and hopefully see you at the next tournament. Deuces.
Yeah.